I'm good, and good evening to you, and thanks for a very good opening round from Adrian. I quite enjoyed it. I learned more from him too. But above all, I want to compliment him for a position I've said on the show and elsewhere that the government should not be appealing to us to find solutions. I think, given his research, I'm sure he'd been familiar enough with this is the first time in the history of Barbados, at a time when governments are more educated, more degrees, more doctorate, more masters than anybody else, where they're appealing to the public to give them solutions. We elect them to find the solutions, given their background, their training, the bureaucracy, their experts, their consultants. So I think they're throwing their hands in the air and say we are unable to find sale. And I say that because today I watched the most of the 80s, 80 or 80, uh, 19th, or 87th anniversary founding their service at the Garden Land Church in Reed Road, St. James. And the
Mm.
Prime Minister spoke about crime. It's the same old story. No
Mm.
initiative, no different approach, appealing to everybody to get involved. You need your help. All the whole thing of many minds met height, many hands met like work. One blows could have the same old story. Where and this is the lady who some months ago said that they had formed an alliance. They had formed a special what a serious crime and gangs unit. We've heard from the British authorities, but we're not seeing or hearing any evidence of the work of this institution. So I thank Mr. Hines for his forthrightness too, and I believe that people should not. One of the reasons why Barbados has developed and advanced over the years because it has quote unquote complained. If we do not complain, you settle for mediocrity or less, and you suffer. So because we always want the best, better, that has driven Barbados in the past. It's the same spirit and outlook as happening today. So I am at one with him in that respect.
Yes, yes,
But
yes. Very well said.
thank you. But that is not my topic tonight is called Twin Towers of Brutal Betrayal. Twin Towers of Brutal Betrayal. And if you can bring slide one for me, I'm going to find what the betrayal means. All right.
Yes, that should be coming up very
And,
soon.
and the Twin Towers relate to the two towers that you
Right. While
made
while
reference
we're
to.
getting that up, let me just read. Betrayal is an act of deliberate disloyalty.
Uh,
Betrayal
as an
is
of
an act of deliberate disloyalty.
and it is my contention that the Prime Minister, and by extension, the government's attitude to giving away that free land, that prime real estate land, over $200 million of land, free to the African extreme constitute an act of extreme a deliberate disloyalty. If you here's the slide two where the uh, pics of the two towers, the two twin towers. If you can zoom in there at the top and bring them a little closer
Hmm.
at the top, right. That is an artist's impression of what it would look like, the Twin Towers. And I think that they will forever live in infamy for the disloyalty of this government towards the people and the patrimony of Barbados, the welfare of Barbados, to have to have to have gone this route and given away that $200 million of land for nothing. It really, I'm still getting over the shock or trying to get over the shock um, of it. And some people might think I'm always picking on the prime minister, but she's the prime minister, and prime means first. So you
Mm.
have to be out front because of your position. All right, but that apart, I'm going to read a quick list of other prime ministers have had projects that have drawn comment, criticism, discussion, disagreement with them, right? So no prime minister has been, no leader has been immune from criticism. And I name a few. Under Grant, the others, for example, when he built government headquarters, which this government is trying to sell,
Mm-hmm.
right? It was called, people laughed and called, it was called the ministerial building, and other people call it Adams Castle because it was the tallest building at that time around Bridgetown. It was
Mm-hmm.
called Ministerial Building because all the ministries could fit into that building at that time. This was 1956. When Ghanaians went ahead with the Deepwater Harbor, that was also criticized. When he started the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, that was criticized.
Mm-hmm.
When Mr. Barr also was engaged with some project, I think through the Barbados Development Bank, a place called International Seafood, that was controversial. The HARP gun, the High Altitude Research Project, where the Defense Force now operates from at Paragon, that was a high altitude gun, that was controversial. There was the acquisition of a vessel called the North Point, that was controversial. When Tom Adams proposed daylight saving time, that was controversial. And after a year, he backed out because he said it was too controversial. And even there was no evidence given that it had done any harm, as people had said it would. People had threatened that people would go to work early because you get them an hour earlier than usual. People would be raped and assaulted, and none of that happened. But he thought it was not worth dividing the country over, and he backed off of that. He proposed the Central Bank building, that was controversial. The ABC Highway, that was controversial. Erskine signed for Prime Minister, 8% pay cut. They had some problems with Barbados Tourist Board, the Carsicot Cotton, or in also had these problems with gems, hardwood houses, the highway flyovers, EduTech. David Thompson had the CLICO. So I'm saying that every Prime Minister has had his issues, some fair, some, but it was part of the national discussion. But this is the first one in which any Prime Minister has ended up giving away Barbados's wealth in land in that respect. And if you could bring slide 3 up to me now, I think it would be useful, Marcia, if you were to remind the public of the details of this plot of land to
Yes.
show how significant it is. So if Dave can bring slide 3 for me.
Yes. And
All right.
right. So 1 hectare is equal to 2.4 acres, right?
Right.
1 acre is 43,560 square feet. 2.63 hectares equals to 6.5 acres. 6.5 acres is equal to 283,140 square feet. Conservatively speaking, 283,140 times 700 per square feet is 198,198,000, which is almost 200,000. And this is, you said, I'm almost sure it would be more than $700 per square foot, because that's a prime location in the heart of Bridgetown with waterfront across the street for it as a hotel guest.
I've heard some rumors that there may be there was a proposal of having a walkover. So you'd be walking over the road into the sea. I don't know if that has flown or not, but that was one proposal. So they're having virtually beachfront property for nothing. And even at groundbreaking ceremony, I noticed, I don't know if you followed it very closely, there was no mention of there was no inclusion of the people from the neighborhood.
No.
There was no visible
Not
presence.
that we saw or heard from. I spoke to some of the residents, and they only got one letter, which you know about. You can go
Right,
ahead.
which was very impersonal, official. So you're meeting the requirement that you inform the neighborhood, but there was no connection with the community, no involvement of the community, and that only came out when the Prime Minister made a sudden announcement. Now, when they had the debate in Parliament, both the House and the Senate some weeks ago, when they were passed this legislation to vest the land, to give away the land to African export right, there was no mention of the public, of the neighborhood. But then she mentioned that there was that there would soon be there was to be a soon to be established urban transformation fund of
Yes.
$7 million to improve the life of city residents living in the shadow of the project, living in the shadow, not being part of the neighborhood, not neighbors, living in the shadow. And living in the shadow means it has a very negative I think I have a slide for that too. Has a
Yes.
negative.
But
Read it.
Mr.
Read
Murray, can I ask you? I know it had said it was 3.5 million US or Barbados. That's why you
three
made it
five. That was
seven
3.5 million US. So
US.
that's
I got you.
yes, 7 million
So,
Barbados
so
dollars.
7 million in comparison, they're going to use 7 million for those who are living in the shadow of these twin tower hotels.
Yeah,
And when we look at how much it could have been sold for, over 200, almost 200 million dollars.
right.
Very
So
interesting.
let's deal with the term industry. I thought that was a very demeaning,
Yes,
degrading
let's see if
for,
Dave can
to
get that
industry.
up.
Yeah, slide 4. If you can read
The
it for
last
me.
slide. Yeah.
Yeah, the definition.
Yes.
Can you read? Right, go
So
ahead and read
yes,
it.
living in the shadow means Barbadians to be overshadowed or unnoticed because someone else is more prominent or successful, or to be in a state of being overlooked or undervalued.
Right? Or yeah, that's right. So in other words, you're just there. You don't really factor in this focus of our thinking. You're part of the externals. You're on the periphery. You're marginalized. And I thought also it was interesting that when Professor Brahma, I think that's his name, of the Afrin export bank, he never made any direct reference to the neighborhood, to his neighbors, to the surrounding districts or whatever, right? Um, and therefore it came out, it all fit into a Lamina situation. This was the elite speaking, and there were the others. They come as afterthought. So he never thought he himself. Okay, this is the point I'm making. If
Mhm.
the prime minister, if this soon to be announced um, urban, soon to be established urban transformation fund,
Mhm.
right, was so central to their thinking. I'm sure in order to show the so-called benefits that Barbados will get, the professor, the head of the bank, would have spoken and mentioned it at the ceremony. I'm sure it should have
Correct.
been mentioned in the House of Assembly. But the Prime Minister, I think this and her usual style, because the controversy surrounding the deserved controversy surrounding the issue, this was an attempt to appease, to keep the public quiet, to say, we're going to do something for you. No details, which means there's no details as to how the fund will work, what would it do. I remember when Arthur built that the London Bone Towers, a lot of people, investors or what, were annoyed because they felt that that land, which was across from the sea, was too prime and too good to be delivered to be devoted to social housing, public
Mhm.
housing. So there's always this appetite for that kind of real estate to go into high rise, high end development rather than what the purpose it served for public housing. So there, I'm sure when the government was negotiating with the bank, if this government were serious,
Mhm.
that would be one of the prime requests, because I'm negotiating. Remember I mentioned last time we talked about development gain. This was
Mhm.
this would have been a development gains where you're compensating for permission to change the use or change the neighborhood by contributing to the redevelopment of the society, and not redevelopment in the form of another structure, another building, but improve the quality of life, the way of life
Mhm.
of the city, and that has not happened. So therefore, I think that this is just I think it's just a way to appease the public. And I think, but um, when you consider that, they said that, oh, the president of the bank said that as part of the quote unquote benefits, the minuscule, almost non-existent benefits, he said that quote 50 local SMEs, small medium enterprises, right? Small to medium enterprises were expected to benefit as subcontractors and suppliers. 50 small and medium enterprises, right?
50.
Listen, were expected to benefit as subcontractors or suppliers for a project that's worth how many million? What was, I forget, what was this, $360 million?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 360 million.
Yeah,
And yeah,
yeah, almost 400 million. Mm-hmm.
another morsel thrown at the public, because this is a bank that that is going to be living high off the public's benefit at the expense of the public of Barbados. So I thought we were hard done by that. I feel that we should not allow this issue. They should not allow this message to slip by. There's too much in it, and something tells me that there's a lot more. There's a lot more to come. There's a lot more to come. I just feel that there's a saying, um, follow the money, and
Yes.
especially with a bank, you have to call a bank is all about money. Follow the money of the bank. Okay, okay. And remember too that they say in business, I have no quarrel with Afrim Export Bank, because there's their nature to make money and they look
Mm-hmm.
after their interests. I am saying we should have the equivalent from the Barbados government to look after our interests, because they say in business, you don't get what you deserve,
Mm-hmm.
you get what you negotiate.
Negotiate, yes.
The Afrim Export Bank got what they negotiated.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the Prime Minister said that is what they're offering. She made it point that they were offering this. But how can you be offering this plum project to the bank at that time when the legislation has already been passed? It's already been given in law. It cannot be revoked. That they know of, unless there's some extremely long, complex case or whatever. But so I'm saying that there are a lot of dog dancing, trying to divert people's attention, uh, by making people feel that we're getting more than we really are getting, and
Yes.
we are hard done by. And I my problem is that this is a bank which is a very wealthy bank,
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of billion of dollars in profits made, etc. It has five branches around the world. Barbados is the first branch outside of
Mm-hmm.
Africa. All right, but I am saying that one of the things that they're getting that nobody else has mentioned it is being used is using the name and brand of Barbados, which he have acquired ever since we were a colony. Barbados had never been known for malfeasance to any extreme, but not at government level,
Mm-hmm.
individuals, etc. But we have never had we had never acquired a reputation for stealing, um, scamming, misappropriating, tricking, and therefore I'm a little concerned with this bank, because this bank is benefiting from our good name, our prestige, which is Barbados has one of the most highly rated passports in the world,
Yes,
highly
sir.
valued, because right. So when you put when these people become when they become ensconced in Barbados with all the duty free, tax free, um, diplomatic, etc., we're going to have a state within a state. They're going to be living, which we will have, which the Barbados government or Barbadian authority will have limited access to. So we do not know what will happen to Barbados' name, because not every bank operates above board all the time. You would know in the last when they had the last financial crisis, what that's 2008. Remember, there were some banks which they were said too big to fail,
Mm-hmm.
right? And therefore the efforts were made around the world to save banks, especially the United States. But there's no bank who is too big to fail to carry out its fiduciary responsibilities to the government, to the authority. Some of the biggest banks in the world, HSBC, some of the top private banks in Switzerland, all over the world, have from time to time run afoul of the authorities. And I think we have to be very careful that Barbados' name is not finally dragged through about the mud, not a bank that operates for us and for our interests, but because we have been over liberal in making them rulers of themselves in, like I said, a state within the state, where they're really independent within an independent Barbados, where they're almost untouchable. And that is very real. Do not fool ourselves that we're speculating. It happens every day. The same money laundering that we are often accused of by the
Mm-hmm.
OECD and I think goes on in New York, Paris, Rome, London, every day, Miami. Right? So I'm saying that do not feel that this is it. And this is not development bank, like Adrian said. We had said before, it is not development bank. It is
Yeah.
being the government is trying to project it as a development bank, but it is not. If you read their literature, they talk about making profit. At the same, they say that they say is a multilateral development bank, a multilateral development bank. And as usual, if I hear these strange things that I'm not familiar with, I research them. A multilateral um, a multilateral bank. Let me I dig it. Give me a second for a minute. A development bank is a bank. A multi okay. A multilateral a multilateral a multilateral bank are said to be international financial institution set up by multiple countries to promote economic and social development in developing countries. For example, the World Bank, that is a multilateral. This is not a multilateral because it's not, and these multilateral banks are set by countries, sovereign countries, not by other
Mm-hmm.
banks. So we have to disabuse our mind that they're coming, that we're going to be benefit directly out of this situation. And I think also that we have to be aware. I'm sure you know of the fable of the story of the Trojan horse,
Mm-hmm.
right? This might could be a Trojan horse sitting in the middle of Barbados. We don't know what's going on because the Barbados, the government has almost given away Barbados to them. If you can look at if Dave can find the terms and conditions that they have given them, I mean numerous. It's almost mind blowing. So we are not in any prime position, and we are, like I said, one of the things that we are saying being told Barbados as we are intend to be help. Like I said, we are already help. We have always been a help through nature, through earth movements, geological formation. We are positioned where we are, and that has always given us certain advantage. So they
Yes.
are taking advantage of our existing help. They're not making us into help.
Yes.
You understand? Right. And therefore, we have to make sure that we see this for whatever it is, and do not allow ourselves to be hoodwinked into believing that we are going to make any external benefits, um, to any great extent, to Barbados as a country. No VAT, no
They have
income tax, no
immunity.
any revenue, right? Immunity, no NIS contribution because their staff and their directors are supposed to get tax free, duty free. If you can read some of those, actually, just to
Yeah,
remind the
yeah, yeah,
public.
yeah. As I close off this segment, we're going to have to do some discussion tonight, guys, and we
Okay,
don't
all
have
right.
a lot of calls. But the immunities and privilege, this is a waiver of immunities and privileges. We have done this before, but it's important to repeat it, especially because we have the march that is coming up this Saturday, folks. We're hitting the pavement again. We understand that the agreement is there, and all of that is, they're saying it's a done deal, but we need to register with the government that we weren't born yesterday and we know what is up. And I have some real news for these people tonight, Mr. Murray, about money that has been passed. But we're gonna get in it. But the waiver of immunities and privileges. The immunities and privilege provided in this agreement are granted in the interest of the bank and may only be waived to such extent upon such conditions as the board of the directors of the bank shall determine.
Not even Barbados can determine that.
Listen,
I, just as you close, let me read my official definition of a state within a state.
yes,
State within a state is said to be a political situation in a country when an internal entity, like the bank will be, public or private, does not respond to civilian political leadership. They don't have to, because everything is waived, and that's why they are really a state within. That could be called the state of Africa import export, with their own flag, etc., their own anthem, whatever they do. It is all on their sovereign territory, based on the giveaways from this overgenerous government. I think Barbados ought to be ashamed of itself. And it's something I'm sure we'll live to regret forever. And I really don't understand why no other prime minister saw it or leader saw it fit to do this. We found all kind of agreements with. Listen, First Caribbean International, CABC International, is a regional bank, has a regional headquarters in Barbados, and I know they rent or at least they occupy the old Warren Great House. The government of Barbados did not give them that because they're a
Yes.
regional bank, because they are a commercial bank. Why? Why the Prime Minister owes it to Barbados to explain in detail why she has gone this route, this over generous route, because it does not sit well with many people in Barbados. I think this is probably her most, to use her term, most egregiously or most egregious mistake, which means outstandingly bad in her
Yeah.
tenure of office. Marcia, you
Yes.
remember
Yes. Thank you,
our
caller.
first. Remember when that letter
You're
came out,
welcome.
Yes.
you were saying that the author had no right to issue the letter about road closure. But now, as details of the agreement between Barbados and the bank are emerging, remember, I spoke a state before the state, they're almost above the law. They're our own law. They create their own what they can do and cannot do. This could be this is probably help to explain why they would think they had the authority because they
Yeah.
know what the concept of they know it better. So it's not it might be baffling to us, but to them it's normal because they know the liberties that have been given to them. And as to the question too of the addresses, remember the Electoral and Boundaries Commission, its wisdom put the electoral list on the internet for the 2027 election. Remember?
Yeah.
Everything they publish it, so it's out there already, so anybody can get it. There's a saying to show when you're really earnest and determined about something. You say there's no rock left unturned, right? It looks as though we're headed where no rock is left unsold, and I mean, no. So when they link that now with the Prime Minister has ascribed to herself this authority about, she makes this kind of reclaiming our African destiny. I don't know what it means. It's never explained how. So she seems to have devised it, conceptualized it, or maybe implementing it on our behalf without any consultation with us, like with the Republic and the National Hearing, so many things. So I'm very concerned now that what is happening with the African Bank might not be part of that reclaiming of African, or so-called her defined African destiny. And last time, I wonder what would be my African destiny when I got here, because some of the Africans conspired with others to get me here years ago. So I am confused about what is supposed to be met by my African destiny. Do I determine it for myself, or should determine it for us as usual? Nobody knows. So we got to know. We got to know. Help, come to us and talk to us.
Yes. And Mr. Murray, you what do you say to the people who
Sorry.
are contemplating whether they should come out?
Sorry.
Or what?
Yeah, please come up because um, nothing can be left untouched. Remember, geriatric hospital. Remember, government headquarters built in 1956. That I remember when I was in government, working with Prime Minister as a minister. You get requests and offers every week. I'm sure Maxine to want to invest, buy this, sell that. Used to get for government headquarters because people thought it was too good for black people to go around every day and see the sea, the Caribbean Sea. So I don't understand why what would get into the Prime Minister might allow that to be sold at all. Would you sell number 10 Downing Street, the White House, the Elysee Palace, etc., etc.? It isn't. Oh, all right.
Yeah.